McLaren took their best championship result since 2012 last year, finishing third in the Constructors' Championship. The team is certainly on the up following the lows of 2015 and 2017, where the team ended up down in 9th in the championship. But is the team back at the top for good, or is it just a flash in the pan? And is their new driver lineup in Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris up for the challenge that is fighting at the front in Formula 1? Let's have a look. My name's Andy and this is Behind the Drive. So this video will evaluate McLaren's 2020 season, looking at the team leadership as well as the drivers to see whether they've built a team that can go on to achieve even bigger and better things in 2021 and beyond. I'll also look into the specifics of the 2021 prospects with the team's new driver and new engine, and then look forward to 2022 and the new aerodynamic regulations and whether McLaren can regain their status as one of the top teams in Formula 1. McLaren's 2020 season. 2020 went really well for McLaren. They took 2 podiums, one more than they managed in 2019, and they created a consistent car that looked capable of scoring points and fighting near the front in every Grand Prix of the season. The year built on a great 2019, where the team arrived with a new driver lineup and a more realistic outlook on their road to recovery, and I would say that it's been a great success, with the team securing the best of the rest spot each season so far. However, their results in 2020 were amplified by the fact that Ferrari had fallen behind, meaning more points were up for grabs nearer the front of the field. So they took a step forward once again in 2020, and what was perhaps more impressive was that the team really hit the ground running in 2020. After a somewhat slower start to their 2019 season, where the team were hit by reliability issues and incidents within races, meaning the drivers couldn't get the full potential out of the car, 2020 was the complete opposite, as the team started off the season with a podium finish for Lando Norris. His ability to hit the ground running with a good understanding of the new car was critical in being able to finish in that coveted third place position, as they battled with Racing Point and Renault. Meanwhile, those main rivals initially faltered as they struggled to understand their 2020 cars. I've picked out 3 factors that have made this ability to understand the car and get ahead in the championship early. First up, the McLaren drivers of Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris. They started the season having had a year to bed into the team, allowing them to work through the setup of the car without the stumbling blocks of new relationships with engineers and other team personnel. The amount of feedback that 2 drivers are able to offer is critical in any team, and it's noticeable when a team has 2 inexperienced drivers. It often becomes more challenging to understand the car. Having Carlos Sainz on board in his 6th year in Formula 1, having driven for 3 different teams, he's likely to now be in a position where his experience allows him to identify the challenges within the car setup faster and propose some potential solutions. So I think that the driving pairing was ideal for the situation at McLaren at the time. For my second point, you have the recently refreshed technical team at McLaren. 2020 saw the first car that technical director James Key had been involved with since the beginning, and whilst the car was an evolution of the 2019 one, having Key on board could only have helped with the design of the car and ensuring there was a deeper understanding of it before that first race weekend in Austria. And then finally, the team managed the strategy impressively throughout the 2020 season, including in those early stages. For example, at the Styrian Grand Prix, they kept Norris out on the soft tyres for longer than the cars around him, which allowed the driver to be quicker in that second stint of the race. He had a good enough delta to complete 3 overtakes in the last 2 laps of the race to ensure he took home those additional valuable points for the team. So getting out the blocks quickly was undoubtedly a valuable position to be in, and almost certainly set the team up for what was an impressive season. But what does the team prospects look like for 2021? Before I jump into looking at how 2021 could look for McLaren, I just wanted to quickly take a moment to ask you to consider subscribing to Behind the Drive if you're enjoying this video so far. I have loads more F1 related content to come in the run up to the 2021 season and beyond. Thanks. 2021 prospects. So, looking forward to 2021, and we can see that McLaren is building momentum and is on a positive trajectory that sees them in a position to break away from the midfield teams and start to take on the challenge of bridging the gap to the frontrunners, a feat that no team has achieved in the hybrid era so far. And there is a lot for the team to look forward to as we move into that new year. The first point to look at for 2021 is of course the fact that the team will now have the Mercedes engine. It's clearly a massive upgrade on the Renault power unit that they leave behind, and arguably the majority of issues that the team faced last year were power unit related, with a number of disappointing retirements or non-race starts coming from issues in that department. So with a move to the best engine on the grid, the team have come full circle after ending their engine partnership with Mercedes in 2014, and they now have a power unit that they can rely on. So, although there will have been some losses from an aerodynamic perspective, as the team need to find a way to fit the new engine architecture into the back of a car that's on evolution on last year's, I'm sure it'll be worth it, and it won't be long before the team see significant improvements on last year's power and reliability. Next up is the aero regulations for 2021. Again, James Key is leading up the technical design, and the car continues to be an evolution on the previous year. But McLaren have been proactive in looking ahead and gathering as much information as possible to prepare for the small changes that the 2021 regulations will bring. Back in Belgium, the team tested the new smaller floor that's required for this season. Being proactive and testing this concept back in August of last year shows just how forward-thinking the McLaren team have become. To have created an adjusted floor in time for that race weekend, they must have been designing it much earlier in preparation, and the information they gathered will still be valuable today. Then you also have the fact that the team changed their nose concept during the season towards a Mercedes-like design, with McLaren rushing the development through to get it homologated in time for the FIA mandated cut-off point at the end of September. And this development came at a cost, as the team struggled to adjust to the new concept early on, taking a few races to get it up to speed. But it did end up paying off, as the team had a very strong end to the 2020 season relative to their midfield rivals, once they understood their new parts. So from an aero perspective, it has to be said, the team looks like they know what they're doing and are developing with a purpose. They have the long-term regulation adjustments in mind and give themselves the best chance possible at creating a 2021 car that can start to bridge the gap to the front-running teams. The next point that the team have to look forward to is their new driver lineup. Losing Carlos Sainz to Ferrari is obviously a blow to the team, as their 2-year partnership came to an end. I think McLaren would have wanted to keep Sainz alongside Norris, but the team responded to the switch well, and they allowed Sainz to go to Ferrari and make the announcements early on. It showed a mature approach to a driver split that then allowed the team to focus with Carlos Sainz on the 2020 season. But looking ahead to 2021, and Daniel Ricciardo joins the team. Now this is positive from a number of angles. For starters, Ricciardo's a 7-time race winner from his time at Red Bull, and so he can bring the experience to the team of racing at the front of the order. This experience has the potential to take the McLaren team poised at the front of the midfield to become a serious title contender in the next few years. The next point about Ricciardo is that he's a big name driver and will have a positive relationship with Lando Norris, much like Sainz did. In 2019 and 20, Sainz and Norris were the dynamic duo of the grid, and bringing in Ricciardo is likely to maintain that type of relationship within the team. It's a great move and a perfect dynamic which will keep the team light-hearted but serious when it comes to it on track. To top it off, the pair of drivers are obviously great for the team's sponsors, so a great move from the team to replace Carlos Sainz with a driver with more experience and similar off-track qualities to the Spaniard. So 2021 is absolutely looking good, much like 2020 was. But to determine if the team will be back at the top of the sport for good, we must look at the team's prospects for 2022, when the regulation changes could shake up the order. 2022 prospects. So whilst 2021 looks strong for the team, can we expect this to continue for 2022? Well, of course the power unit regulations, so far at least, look to remain stable, so given the Mercedes power unit is the best in the field, the team is well set from that perspective. They have the potential to win races and to be right at the front of the order with that engine. Then there's the question of the aerodynamic changes for 2022 and whether the team will be able to produce a car that's able to fight at the front. For me, the team have shown that they can and will do this. They showed in 2020 how far ahead they were looking with regard to the 2021 regulations, and I wouldn't be surprised if the team was already looking ahead to the 2022 regulations. James Key coming in as technical director is a great move for the team, and working under the leadership of Andreas Seidel, McLaren can absolutely make one of the best cars on the grid for 2022. To add to all this, there is the spend caps, which are coming in for 2021 and have the potential to level the playing field, so that teams like McLaren can recover and get back to the front of the grid without having to spend the huge amounts of money that some of the front-running teams do. So can McLaren be back at the front of the grid? Well, I think so. I feel like these positive results have not been a flash in the pan, and after the lows of the 9th place championship finishes in 2015 and 2017, I think the team are back where they belong and will continue to remain there into 2022 and beyond. The driver lineup is top notch and seems like it could remain stable for the foreseeable future, and with the refreshed leadership team at McLaren, they've definitely turned a corner. They won't be fighting for the championship in 2021, but I would expect them to be up there fighting for podiums once again, and perhaps even the odd race win. And then 2022 is anyone's guess, but I think they're back for good this time. So that's my view on McLaren and whether they're back at the top of Formula 1 for good. What do you think? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video and watched this far, then please leave it a like and subscribe for more F1 content for the 2021 season and beyond.